very special guest today. We actually met him through people that we know. But I got my boy Ivan. What's up, doggy?
What's up, Ty? How you doing, my man?
Doing
Welcome
good.
to the 25-8 podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Like Tyler was saying,
We got Eisa. So what's up, my man?
Hey, how you doing?
Eisa Emami, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out. I know you got a super crazy busy schedule, man.
Yes.
Flew into Vegas last night from Canada.
Yeah.
And now you're in Orange or LA County.
Yeah.
Right. And then back to Vegas tomorrow.
Yeah, and then Canada as well, the same day, and then back to Montreal after that.
Oh
so.
my God.
This
go,
guy.
go.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, we appreciate it. We know, we wanted to bring you on this podcast. Obviously, the invitation from Casey here, but you know what the 25-8 is kind of all about. Since we're kind of new here, but it kind of goes within the saying of the 25-8, right?
Yeah.
So instead of 24/7, it's the 25-8. Hence, you're traveling, you're doing business, you're doing shows, this and that. So you emulate that, and that's why we wanted to have you on and to kind of start things off before we get into some nitty-gritty questions. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, and kind of your journey and how that started and to where you're at right now.
Yeah, you bet. So my name is Eisa Emami. 33 years old right now. Currently a 737 captain based in Canada. I became a multimillionaire before 30 years of age through trading the stock market. And a pro drummer. So it's like trades, like literally different trades that have
facets.
no relevance
There you go.
to each other. Like we were talking about earlier, parents, they went to Sweden when I was 6 months old. And then I actually grew up in Sweden. And then 13, we came to Canada. Lost my father when I was 13, so it was a really confusing time. Growing up to become a guy really young, and having to sort of become the man right away. So that was interesting. Overcame a lot of weird times, pain, et cetera, et cetera. And then here we are, 33 years old, man. Just living life on my terms, and it's great. And I just want to help more people do it. So that's awesome. That's what the mission is more about these days.
So how young did you start trading in the stock market?
20.
At 20?
20, naively.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So 13 years ago.
Yeah.
What got you kind of the itch in terms of getting into specifically the stock market? Yeah,
when I pursued flying, it was you quickly realize how political the game is to make it in aviation. It's about who you know.
Okay.
Don't piss off the wrong person. Don't say the wrong thing to the wrong person.
I got you.
Meanwhile, you're in an industry where, there's a lot of things happening. You got to speak up if something's about to go down, right? So it's a very interesting political landmine, let's call it that, to make it to the top. And when I saw, that there's still a financial ceiling in the end of this political landmine,
right?
I didn't want to be part of that financially. I love flying. I love, captaining. The 37 is amazing feeling, guys. But,
that's awesome.
But when you rely on it financially, it changes you in a way that's not, I think, inducive to who you're supposed to be. So I wanted to have my own wealth outside of flying, and drumming is just drumming. It's just amazing. So
where did that click? Not wanting to have that financial cap, because not everyone thinks like that. You know what I mean? Because aviation, it's a great industry to be in.
It is.
It's a well-paying job. You're a captain of top-notch airline or your plane. What made you just think like, I don't want to live capped. I want to do something that's going to be based off of my efforts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think what it was is you realize very quickly that if you subscribe to to a schedule that somebody else gives you, and you have to fly a line, let's say, all the time, and you can't pick and choose when you fly and pick and choose when you do what you do, it's not really, in my mind, someone who's made it still. You're still tied to someone. Someone else kind of owns you still, and it's not really freeing. So I wanted freedom. I think that's what it was. I think that's what we're all shooting for, ultimately, is having our own version of freedom, right? And
absolutely.
Obviously, flying a plane is freeing, but what's interesting is it obviously comes through discipline. If you're disciplined, you get to your destination freely. If you're not disciplined, upside down, you ain't making it.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about that journey in terms of becoming, multimillionaire by the age of 30, what that looked like, and take us through that.
Yeah, sure. It started out as not knowing what I was doing, obviously, like most people, right? The whole thing I always get is why the stock market, right? I mean, there's real estate, there's, now there's Amazon, drop shipping, whatever, affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
So why the stock market? If you take a look at the majority of wealth, right? we were talking the wealthiest of the wealthiest, top 1%, right? Their capital is always working in the markets, effectively so much so that they own the inventories of the companies that you now, call the S&P 500 makeups, et cetera, right? So when I started seeing that, I was like, okay, well, if this is where the flow of money exists, and I don't have to have a creative idea with a new business idea to convince a market to buy something from me, if I can just position myself in this and learn how it works, then maybe I have a shot at success with it. Very naive at first, because I was like most people. I keep saying, drawing lines and thinking technical analysis and graphs and indicators, right? You believe that, if you kind of color paint the right thing, you're going to make money, right? But the thing is, you get lucky until you don't, and then you get decimated, and then you realize really what the game is about. And it's none of that. That is maybe 10, 15% of it, right? When I learned that the hard way, because I started with a line of credit, I did not have any money to my name.
No shit.
Right.
And they say that's like very risky to do, right?
It is.
Borrowing money to invest
in
it, because not a lot of people, know how to navigate that and manage that. A lot of people easily blow that, but
the one thing I learned, and I'll say this, is the elite of the elite, typically they prefer to get paid in stock. And why is that, right? Because if you get paid in stock, then ultimately you can have debt against the stock. You pull money out from debt, don't pay taxes on it.
Yes.
Right? So if I can have my net worth in stock and assign value of a loan to that, then I don't pay income tax on that loan. In fact, I get to write off the loan interest rate. So that concept to me was exciting. And I thought, you know what? I have nothing to my name. I'm 20. If I lose a car's worth of credit, this is the time to do it. And that was the beginning of this whole story of how I became where I'm at today. I'm 33 now, but by 30, crossed in multis and millions of wealth. And, it all came from learning what the 90% don't want to learn, right? Because the stat is 90% of people lose their money when they self-directed. That's normal, right? Because they're all drawing lines. They're all, right? So they're
squiggly everywhere.
Right. They're following the next social media advice, right? And I get it. Or if not that, was it Trader Dummies for Trading or whatever it's called?
The Trading
book,
for Dummies.
Right. They're following that. And it just, I don't know, if it was that easy, everybody would do it.
So I wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah.
So what are some kind of key strategies or lessons that you found along the way during trial and error, or learning from mentors that you had along the way? And interjecting that into your business and coming up in that, and kind of what did that look like?
Right. Don't buy into all the ideas out there. There's a lot of good ideas, a lot of good solutions, but the reality is 99.5% of public companies fail. So, when you look at those odds, right, and you're putting money into long-term holds in a penny stock, hoping to have a 6,000% return,
crazy to happen,
right? That is where that gambling mindset effectively enters, and it's no longer a good thing to do. But if you get more so interested in, let's say, why a idea comes into the market, pumps up the price, finances that price at half the price, and then you can make money on that volatility, that's where the money is made, okay? And that is usually done through ways of these companies do public filings. They let you know in advance if they're going to do a pump and dump. They will tell you. 99% of the time they'll tell you. Sometimes there's delayed filing, which is another thing that you got to be watching out for. Because if they're not filing on time, what other sketchy stuff are they up to, right? But I would say don't buy into any ideas on the market. If you really want an idea, look at what the big guys are doing and follow that, compound over 30, 40 years and retire happily. If you want money quickly, you got to get into the details, the nitty-gritty details as to why these companies are doing what they're doing and take advantage of that volatility.
So kind of take the time to learn and educate yourself about it, and not just, like you said, go with the next best idea that a social media influencer that you see an ad on YouTube or whatever it is.
I mean, I will never tell people what to do, but my experience has been that, right? Because when you look at it, if you combine the principles of investing with trading, that's where the success is. Like if you focus on just getting a 4 or 5% move this week on your account, not looking for a home run, 2,000% AME, AMC, GME pump, whatever the whole run was here a couple of years ago. If you just get interest in that 5% win and then compound that next week, compound that next week, and then keep compounding those trade wins over time, Guys, 5% a week at 52 weeks is like 900 something percent year end.
Crazy.
Right? Where someone's holding and hoping for 900%, I'd rather you get good 5% at a time.
I agree. I think the most successful traders are like 30% right? Like
if that's
30% of the time they're right.
The Wall Street pros, if on a good run, on a good quarter, are sitting around 60% win rate. But yet they're making money. The JP Morgans are still making money.
That's crazy.
So there is something to that, and not getting caught into the ideas that people, we have this next technology that's going to solve X, Y, Z.
Sure.
I keep talking about it. Right now, the whole big thing people are talking about is these lithium batteries because of the next green thing we're on. Well, that's great, but what happened to the weed stocks? Same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
what happened to the Ebola craze, the bleach stocks, right? Vaccine stocks, what happened to them?
Yep.
So you carry more of that kind of secure mindset of investing in actually that things that aren't going to be just like a fad, right?
Yes.
They're more of the long-term,
Yes.
Corporations you're investing in.
Yeah.
More of like the Warren Buffett kind of mentality, right?
Correct.
Those,
In trading.
Staple in trading, right? More of those staple kind of brands and things like that. They're actually going to bring value long-term, right?
And if not, then the plays are obvious. Because if they're not being legitimate, it's an eventual failure. It's a matter of when.
Can you share like a personal finance tip or strategy that you use, like that you can give out to someone regardless of their background, that you can give to them that would work? You know what I mean? Regardless of the financial literature or anything like that.
Yeah.
What's some advice for someone like that just doesn't have a background in trading,
Like-
that wants
like
to get into it?
Like a book, you mean? Or what do you
Yeah, a book or just like how to kind of gear towards that direction of trading without any, financial background.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the first thing, the easiest thing you could do is literally go to like either Yahoo Finance or finviz.com. Like anybody can do this, right? And I would recommend that they sort it by percentage win. There's a screener there. There's a free screener. Look at today's wins, okay? Take the top 10 of them, right? And all you do, and go and put those tickers in the SEC website and just pull up the first few filings that they've put in. See what the company's up to. Once you go through about 10, 15, 20 of them, you start getting a hang of how much risk is associated with the majority of these. Right. And what do most people do? What are most of the advice? The advice is, find today's percent gain or trade it right away on the day and then make some money. Hopefully it goes to the moon, right? Get interested in the details of these companies that are up 200% today. Right. What happened to it? Why is it up? Right? Is it actually going to continue? Is there something legitimate going on in what the company is up to?
Check the balance sheets, all that good stuff, profit and losses. And,
what's going on? Like this, and then, what the thing I love the most is, and it's called S1 or S3 filings. Okay, these are basic SEC filings. Like an S3 filing is basically a company says we're registering an extra amount of shares that we're going to dump into the market. So basic supply and demand is if I increase the share pool, the price is going to drop. So a typical pump and dump strategy is, biotechs. These are fantastic because they depend on research and development capital. Let's get the stock up. Let's get hype going on like stock twits or whatever, right? Let's get it up to like $15, $20 from $1 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. Sure. Get people to buy into an idea. But behind it is an S3 filing where they're going to drop 100 million shares at 5 and raise another, $500 million.
Is that information public right when
it is? It's on it's on SEC's website. It's EDGAR, EDGAR. You literally put that in Google. You can put in the ticker of that biotech or whatever company. Crazy. And the filing is there ahead of the announcement of that drop. So you need to be aware of that if you're holding and hoping something like this. Don't do that. Damn. Well, I mean, I can't tell you to do it, but don't do it. Why would you do that to yourself, right?
Sure. So before looking into these like initial public offers and filings, look into the S3 and things like that on the SEC website. And
are they registering more shares to drop? If they are, they're probably looking for money, especially if their profit and losses at a negative. Yeah. They need money.
Cool. Learn how to read financial statements.
There you go.
Straight up.
That's awesome.
So kind of going based off of what he just said, you being not only an investor yourself, but also coaching people kind of through this, what are some, going back to that question, but what personally, if you're willing to kind of divulge it on a general level, what are some like valuable tips or lessons that you would give strictly to a beginner? You kind of just shared a little bit about it, but what other things can they look at and watch out for more than just looking at what's going to make them money? Because I feel like when people get into these sorts of things, they're always looking for the positives. Like, how can I make money? This person says do this, but as we all know, and you probably know this obviously better than we do in your space, but you got to look out for the downsides.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, especially beginners, don't look at the downside. They're only focused on the upside.
Right.
So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the downside, you have to be extremely interested in the lead up to the moment where you caught that stock moving. Like so let's say you show up to something and it's, oh my God, it ran from 1 to 20 today. Like it blows your mind, right? You need to understand that's like a lineup to a bar that's really attractive, and it's a marketing campaign. It's trying to get your attention. Why is it trying to get your attention, right? If you can figure out the why, which is through these SEC filings, right, then you will have the answer to whether it's a good investment to get into or not to get into, or a good trade even, right? The thing is, most of the beginners that get into this game, what I tell them is stop focusing on home runs. There's no such thing as home runs. Okay, you might get lucky. If you get lucky, great. Take that win, go with it. But that's not a dependent strategy for you long term, right?
Base hits, baby.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Get those singles. Get those absolute singles. Like, I'd rather see, like I said, that your account moved 2% today. That's it. I'd rather see tomorrow you did no trade because there was no opportunity, because by Friday, there's another run on a dip that's formed over the entire week that you're going to make another 5 to 10% on, and now your account's up 4 or 5% this week. Repeat next week, right? If you have a good run, I always tell them, stop getting excited about it. Like, the normalized version of making money is what's going to keep making money. If you keep getting excited about it, like a hyena, for lack of a better term,
just chasing it.
Think about it. Do you think the guys on Wall Street get excited, or no, man? Like, they might, but over time it gets so mundane. I just made $100 million.
Yeah, crazy.
And that's
Build
it.
that thick skin. Yeah,
That's it. Don't be so excited about money. The money's going to come and flow as a result of the process. It's kind of like, the advice I've been taking recently. So I'm trying to lose weight. So I'll give you some advice here. Okay. So one thing my that I learned is stop focusing on dropping pounds by week. Focus on my win is the protein today. My win is the sleep today. The action is what's going to lead to that weight loss, not the if I lost 2 pounds by next week. Same thing to money. Yeah. Exact same thing.
Well, because it goes back to what you said earlier in terms of discipline.
Yeah.
And being a captain and pilot in that, you have to be disciplined. So taking that in all areas of life, whether it's with your money, drumming, right? Personal health. And so it all goes kind of, back to that discipline.
Yeah. And the action step that gets you the result. It ain't the result. The actions behind it gets that result ultimately.
Sure. It's so hard though, I feel like, with trading, because you fall into that like gambling mentality, that high of like, I just made, a couple bucks today, I want to do it again. Like forcing trades. Like, how did you become disciplined to not force trades? Was there a time when you were forcing trades and you're just like kicking yourself in the butt and you're like, man, I got to stop doing this?
Yeah.
You learned a specific technique not to, chase these trades?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what it is. My account crossed $1 million for the first time.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Awesome. Congrats.
And so this was 27, right? It's 27 years old. So what was I, 6 years ago now? Yeah.
Nice.
And I was okay, I'm a millionaire. Right? So, all right, cool. And then what ended up happening is it's almost like I didn't want to believe that I was meant to be a millionaire, because I wasn't following my process. I started getting very lazy with my own approach. Right. I'm invincible, right?
Sure.
I'm a millionaire now,
exactly.
right?
You catch that high.
The ego gets a little bit.
So I started getting reckless with my decisions, and then $1,950,000. 900, 850, 820. I started depleting my account back down.
Oh shit.
Okay. I got it down to about 700K. So I lost about 300K of that million just as a result of the shift in the identity, my mindset. Right? Now, is it all mindset? I don't know. There's an argued, maybe a possible argument there for that. But what I think it is we obviously define money, I think, emotionally as humans, right? We emotionalize money. Where if you think about it in actual logical terms, there isn't anything emotional to it. It flows where there exists value. So if that value is the asset in your head that understands what to do, you're going to have a lot of money. So if you don't have that value in your mind, you ain't going to have a lot of money. So the value could be your mindset. The value could be your knowledge, education. The value could be, as a business owner, a product that you're selling. But if you don't have that value somewhere near you, that money's not going to come to your way anyway. So it was a hard lesson to learn, because once you lose 300K as a new person to money, right? It still hurts a lot, man. It's uncomfortable. And it forced me to really look at myself. Okay, why am I making the decisions I'm making, and what's going to change?
As a coach, what are some common mistakes you see new traders make?
They don't cut their losses. Number one.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Like, it's like they hold on to their ideas. People love being right.
It's going to get better. It's
all
gonna
right.
get better.
Listen, man, like, it's really hard to admit you're in the wrong sometimes, right? Like, you just, like, I don't know, like, think about it. Like, someone cuts you off in traffic. Someone, like, isn't that kind of like, it bothers you, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and you want to sort of like get your right back.
Yeah.
So you might go crazy and try to get your position back in traffic, right? I always compare training to like driving in traffic. Like, it's like, you know, when you're stuck in the lane and the lane by you is going by you,
right.
And then like a minute you wait 2 minutes and all of a sudden you're like, screw this, I'm going there, and now you stop and you're thinking,
yes, dude,
right?
all the time.
Okay, so
literally on the way up here tonight. God damn.
Like, okay,
get out of the way,
right? And I get it, right? But it's like, because we're emotionalizing the end result. For you, it was a destination here today, right? Right? Because what does it mean if I'm late? Blah, 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 right? Sure. Well, same thing with money, right? It's like, if you can try to remove yourself from that, then you become more of a robot and you stop thinking of money as a person that you have an emotional relationship with. It's just it's like a piece
tool.
Of paper.
Yeah.
It's literally a useless piece of paper if you think about it, right? Literally. Cut that loss. It ain't serving you. Like, it's like, and the funny thing is, if you get good at cutting a loss and you get really good at that, you start cutting bad people out of your life. Like, it goes into your life.
Domino effect.
It's how you think. Cut the things that don't serve you. This ain't serve you. Get out of it.
It's that emotion, huh? Knowing how to deal with it, and,
right?
Stop it,
and not being right.
Right.
Don't worry about being right. Just make money.
Sure.
That's a very good saying.
Yeah.
Don't worry about being right. Just make money.
Yeah. No, and my dad actually, he's always said, never get too high, never get too low.
Correct.
So going back to what you were saying, in trading especially, is like, even if you get a big win, it's like, don't get on your high horse. And then when you take a loss, it's like, look at it, objectively, and don't get emotional about it.
Correct.
Right. But I wanted to ask about being a captain and,
sure.
and going back to that, being a pilot. So the plane that you flew, we did a little bit of research on you, the B737.
Yeah, the MAX. With the scandals. Remember, it was shut down for a few years.
Yeah. So within that, obviously that's, super impressive. So congrats on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
But how do you balance in terms of, your career in aviation and then your career being a stock investor as well as a stock coach? How do you balance between those two and then also bringing in your personal life as well?
Yeah.
How do you see all of that mesh together and balance all that?
Kind of tough, isn't it?
Sure.
It's a lot of things going on at once, right? I don't think there's a balance. Like, there really isn't a balance. Like, what ends up happening is there is a limitation to how many people I can help. There's a limitation to how many flights I can accept. There's a limitation to how much I end up helping the companies beyond my obligation, right?
Yep.
There's a limitation to how much time I can spend with friends. So there are limits that are now excessively imposed in my life. But here's the thing. Like, if you go back and ask the 5-year-old version of me, what do you want to be like? Well, I want to fly a plane. I want to play drums. I want a lot of money. Those are 3 things I want. So I'm doing it. So I guess it doesn't cause burnout because I love it, right? Now, the big thing is, this is actually a learning curve for me too, because when it came to like the coaching clients specifically, right, I started seeing for a while that there was too many at once where I couldn't really serve them at the best level that I wanted to serve them. They didn't really feel it, but I wasn't too happy with what I was delivering, right? So we scaled that back. So that's something that we do. And I always say to people, especially those who are considering like working with me, is this ain't a volume play for me. Like, this ain't like enroll people $7 a person, 1,000, 2,000 in a chat room. Here's a buy alert.
Yeah.
Right. This ain't this ain't that,
little
right?
flags.
Yeah. This is like, I'm very, very specific about who I want to work with, because I want the person to want to become a trader for the reasons that they have, whatever that is. Be financially free, if that's it, side income, be able to just live at home, take care of parents, whatever their goals are, their pain points. That's who I want to help. I don't want to just help anybody. So I scaled it back to who I can actually manage and help, because I don't want to give up flying to just coach. I don't want to just, give up drumming to fly. Like, do you see what I'm saying? So it's, for me, I want to do it all at once. So now the one thing I've noticed is, at 33, I'm growing whites. So maybe there is something in the last couple of years I've noticed where, like, maybe I need to slow down a bit. I've revisited, sort of looking at health a lot more now. Like, I've lost since the last 3 years. probably about 40 pounds.
Bro,
But,
that's good.
congrats to you.
Congratulations, man.
there,
Yeah.
it could be
Gotta keep it
faster. I
going.
know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. It
No,
could be
but
faster.
like you said, man, it's baseball hits. It's not home runs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I'm re-looking at sort of how to bring my optimal version to the table so that I can even serve more people, help more people do more things.
Right.
You know, and on top of that, got a lovely fiance. We travel the world when we can.
Nice,
so I try to spoil her as well and provide a lifestyle where she can work when she wants and relax and just do what she wants. I really believe in that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How did you learn how to cut people, certain like negative people off from your life that didn't really match your purpose, that your bigger being, like what you were trying to become? Because obviously you see those, you were young. You started trading at what, 20-year-olds you said? So you get those kids that you're about to be 21. Hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. But you're kind of so invested on your higher purpose and like your calling. How did you learn how to weed those people out at such a young age?
It took a while, man. It took a while to get good at that. I'd say, like, for me, it was more about there's people who are with you, right? And there's people who are, like, getting in your way. Like, I think there's only one of the two. I think people who are getting in your way, they might act like they're your friends, but when the real conversations happen, they exert jealousy, they exert toxicity, they exert almost like an ego flex. Like it comes out almost inadvertently in their behavior around you. And you start realizing, well, the people who I thought were my friends are not necessarily it. But the people who are honest with me and they're like, you know what, like you could do this better. Well, you don't want to necessarily hear that all the time, but they're there for you because they want to see you succeed, right? So I started identifying who's truthful around me and who's not.
Right.
And I started finding that those who benefited from my existence usually got in the way of it. And those who were there sometimes, and maybe even sometimes hurt me because they're brutally honest, are actually my true allies who are looking out for my best overall interest. So that's really where the sort of semblance started of cutting out people that don't serve me. And ironically, it opened up room for people. One of my biggest fears, especially I lost my father when I was 13.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but what it created was almost like this fear of losing. You don't want to lose friends. You don't want to lose,
friends,
right?
People around you.
So learning to sort of cut losses quickly.
It goes back to that, yeah.
It was one of the toughest endeavors, right? I mean, it took me 4.5 years roughly to get really good at just the concept of cutting, right? Whether the stocks or people or whatever, pardon me. So what I learned though is that when you weed out the wrong people, it's not just a cliche. It does actually open up room for the proper entrants
People
to come
in, right?
Yeah, to come in and actually help elevate you to where you're supposed to go and be on your path, right? And if you keep approaching it with honesty with people and not having a filter and not putting on a mask with people, you tend to attract more of that, right? You get more real people in your life. That's been my experience, at least.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How, on the opposite end of the spectrum, how did you go about finding and seeking out these positive relationship mentors or just friends for personal reasons when you started to shift that mindset of cutting your losses, as you just said? How did you go about making those connections and finding those people that were an intricate part of helping you along your journey and what you are today, and I'm sure what you look to accomplish in the near future and beyond? What did that look like?
It's gonna sound kind of crazy, man. I don't know. Hopefully your audience will
Bring it on,
resonate.
If they understand the 25
literally, well, guys, I asked for it. I just literally consciously asked for it, meditate for it, and just I don't know, I asked for better people in my life. And it's funny, like we just met today, basically, right? Yeah. And it's like I already vibe with you guys, and this is all as a result of literally 3 months ago, right? I was talking to a gentleman I was working with last year, and I said, I'd really like to get into podcasts and see if there's a story for me to help people become more get more inspired by, go on and do the thing they want to do. Can I pass my message on? Can it help somebody? I'm sitting in LA 3 months later talking to you guys right now and talked to Casey earlier, and I'm going to Vegas tomorrow to talk to somebody else. I don't know what their name is, my bad, but I don't know who they are yet. I'm still new to the space, right?
Sure.
But I asked for it, and I just let it flow. So when the opportunity shows up, I don't say no. I say yes. Let's do it. Super scary. I don't know how to do podcasts, but here I am.
You're doing great.
Yeah, have a conversation.
I don't know. I'm just
and that's it.
Chopping it up with the boys at the end of the day.
That's
literally.
it, man. That's so I just ask for it, and when an opportunity presents itself, I don't say no, even though it's scary. I go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
No, Esau, thank you, my man. That's, all interesting stuff. So I appreciate that. Do you feel like this podcast game has also kind of helped out in your coaching that you've been doing already?
I don't know. I mean,
or you don't know yet.
I don't know yet. To be determined, right? I mean, so my goal with the podcast has always been like, with the reason why I asked for it is, I think there's a lot up in here I can share, and just even ideas, even if it's just philosophies in the beginning, to get the right sort of wire connections on how you think about stuff, right? And then even if it's not the stock market, cool, because that means that as a result of something that we talked about, the right thing was inspired, and you're going to go down that path and do it, right?
True.
I always say to people, like, when they come to consider working with me, the first thing is, why do you teach if you're so successful? And I get that question. It's totally honest, and it's good. The thing is, guys, once you get to a place where you have everything you could have imagined, right? So for me, I've got a lovely fiance, I've got my captain thing, drumming thing, money, trading, skills, this and that. What do? Do you just keep it to yourself?
Right.
I guess if you're scarcity driven, you keep it to yourself.
Sure.
Right. But in my mind, I think, you know what? I'm the kid who had nothing. So if I can pass that on, then why isn't that something I leave behind?
I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if that leads to me help more people, then great. If that leads to me inspiring more people to go after what they want to do, then even better. I never push the stock market doctrine down anybody's. Right. I never say you must
Dump it on the forehead, right?
Because that's like the parent that says you must go to college, right?
Yeah.
That's not at all what this is. But what I've found is, hey, if you don't have any ideas, you don't know like what business you would bring to place, but you think you'd be good at like seeing value, bottom and top, and make money on those things, then the market could be a great place for you. So start considering it.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
You basically described the philosophy of the 25-8. The whole point we started this podcast was to give back that knowledge to the viewers and like see how maybe they can get into certain different industries with our guests that we have on.
Right.
So you just described the whole purpose of the show, man.
I asked for it.
Yeah,
Here you are.
Literally. And that's one of the things that I've always said. I've said it on previous podcasts that we've had, but is like, and I saw one of your Instagram clips of being financially free, and what does that mean? It's like everyone thinks financially free, and I think you said this too in your video, was like you have to be a multi-millionaire and this, that, and the other. But what you've said, along our conversation, and what you just said as well was, hey, to be financially free, you don't have to be this, multi-millionaire or billionaire in that retrospect. You can be, I want to just take care of my family, my parents, and make sure we're good. And we don't have to worry about money. Whatever that value may look like, everyone's situation is going to be different. And how do I help you get there?
Yep.
Right. And I've always said, I've gotten shit when I was a kid because, I did have a good upbringing and all that. But I always said, I want to be wealthy, not just in money, but in knowledge as well. But specifically on the money aspect, is because if you don't have a certain amount of money as well as knowledge, you can't give that back. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're striving just to stay alive yourself.
Yep.
Right. And so that kind of goes to what you were saying is like, hey, I have all these things, and I'm going to continue on my own journey with my own family and this, and that, and the other. But there's something else, and it comes back to you giving back in whatever facet that may be. Stocks, captain and piloting, teaching people how to drum. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I thought it was really cool that you said that, and I saw that on your page. I was like, my guy.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was my man.
Okay. You know what, man? I the way I see it ultimately is that we all have a finite time that we know of on this earth, right? Who knows what happens afterwards, right? I don't know. You could be religious, you could not be religious. It doesn't really matter to me what that afterlife concept is. But what I've found so far, this has been my discovery, take it or leave it, is it seems to be that whenever I have taken upon the path of genuinely lifting somebody else up, right? That could be through knowledge. That could be through even like a charity handout, right? Whatever that is, right? I don't know why it comes back 100 times more in ways that I would have even not imagined. I would have never expected that this is how it's going to come back. And I don't mean this in a self-fulfilling prophecy way. What I'm getting at is there seems to be something about when you radiate good energy around people and help people out, for some reason, when you need help, it comes.
Yep,
it shows up in a way that you just like, really? That stranger or that whatever, that incident was what I needed, right? So the way I see it is like my life is obviously set the way it is. And I deal with this oftentimes with people who don't know me yet, like in the flying world. They'll go, if you're so rich, why are you still flying? I'm like, you don't get it, do you? You don't get it, right? Like, okay, so you're going to be rich and vegetate at home and eat potato chips? I mean, this is what happens when you do that. But seriously, I'm saying there was definitely, I call wealth depression, guys. There's a moment where you realize you don't have to do anything. And when you realize that, it is kind of depressing if you don't have anything that you love to do. Because I thought that, I'm going to all this money and I'm going to stop flying and stop drumming, right? Because that's what everyone says you're supposed to do. And then I realized, no, that ain't it. I miss flying, right? I need to get back into it. I miss drumming. I need to get back into it. And then I realized just by helping some friends around me that, man, I love helping people understand the very thing that I learned, you know?
That's awesome.
So my message to anybody who thinks that I'm going to get rich and I'm going to stop working is, well, then you probably hate your job. Right. Yeah. And I'm fortunate that I never, ever hated these things that I still do every day. So I'll do more of it, you know?
I love that, man.
You got to find a passion, right?
You have
real
to.
Calling, right?
Yeah. You have to. Otherwise, you're going to vegetate, and that's it.
Yeah.
I agree. Man.
Well,
you got one more for us, Ty?
I got one more.
What's
okay.
So kind of coming full circle, we'll bring it back to the trading and the market and all that. I know there's probably many tips that you can give, but let's do your top two. What would be your top two most important advice that you would give someone that's, you know, striving either to be successful financially or just in life in general or aviation, all that. So what would be your top two things that you would give and telling them based off of your personal experience and expertise?
Okay. I'd say, like, okay, I was going to say number one for number two, but I'll say two first. Okay.
Let's
so
go.
I think the first one before you can get to the second one is any of the meanings that either you or a parent or a friend or life has given you about money, just kibosh it right away. Like, don't define money yet, because I always say to people, you don't quite know what money is until you have a lot of it.
Yes.
So how could you possibly even expect to know what it's going to be like, right? So number one, be humble enough to accept that you don't know what having a lot of money is going to be like. So drop any meaning that you have with it right now until you have it. So what that creates thereafter is find a way to, have massive amounts of leadership in your life. What does that mean? I think that means that you take ownership over what you don't know. So if you don't understand money, don't tell me I can't afford this. How can I afford it? What piece of information am I missing to afford it? Right? If you can just even shift your mind to think that way and just sort of bring that consciousness alive a bit more, you start asking better questions. Better questions leads to better judgments of scenarios where you might feel like you don't have enough information, which then leads you down the path of going and learning about that thing. Where I think a lot of people, they hold themselves back is they just say, oh, I can't do this. And that's it. They don't even question the very thought that they just announced in their mind.
Why, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my thing is just number one, just to repeat, you don't know anything about having a lot of money if you don't have it. So don't pretend like you do. Just drop any meaning. And number two, display leadership, which means take ownership for things that you don't know. And an important part of leadership is your relationships are always going to be before any authority you carry in life. So if you're planning on being a badass with a lot of money and you're thinking I'm going to be some boss and some alpha male walking around with a lot of money, your relationships are going to dictate whether you're going to be that at the highest level. If you have no relationships, people won't listen to you. They're not going to follow your story anyway. They're not going to care about you. loyalty is only inspired to people who feel like you care about that individual's motivations too. And I deal with this with my first officers all the time. You know, I'm flying with first officers, right? I'm the captain, right? Mm-hmm. I could be really mean and shut them down. Ain't going to work, right? Right? Because it's not going to serve them, and it ain't going to serve me, right? But if instead I get interested in what their motivations are, which probably is to one day be a captain, right?
Yeah.
And if I maybe just lay 3 or 4 steps that they can now do to, you know, get involved in that exercise of becoming a leader, now I'm helping them. They inspire loyalty to me. We have a relationship that builds the authority that's needed without even needing to be a person of authority. Does that make sense? Yeah, no, it's a very organic way of getting there. Yeah. So those are the 2 things I would do if I'm starting from, you know, square number 1 right now. That's what I would do is learn and then be a leader.
Don't play that victim mentality.
That's it.
Take the offensive approach on why you don't have money and what can you do to, you know, get there. Right. Yeah. So don't feel like, oh my God, poor me. It's why aren't you there? What skills do you need to build to be where you want to be?
Specifically, right? Listen, I mean, the guys, how many times have you heard stock trading is a gamble?
All the time. Yeah.
Why is that a belief? Well, it's only a belief because people screwed up with no knowledge and now they think it's a gamble. Well, no, you didn't know what the hell you were doing.
Right.
Hombre. I'm kidding though. No, you know what I mean? Like, come on. You didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself.
We're treating it like gambling. Right? That's why they saw it as a gamble.
Well, it's having that positive mindset, that mindset shift that you said. And one thing that hit was, you know, knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
And our motto behind the 25-8 is, you know, outwork everyone, always stay humble.
Absolutely.
So, you know, don't get it twisted. Don't think that since you're making all this money or you're doing well for yourself and your family that you can treat that other person a certain way. Because like you said, the relationship is everything. And over time, if you're an asshole, doesn't matter how much money you have, people are going to start shutting you out.
Yep.
That money is going to be potentially depleted, or you're going to have it all for yourself. And over time, money's going to be worthless if it's just for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my man.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Eisa Emami, ladies and gentlemen, you know, thank you for being on the 25-8 podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm going to watch out. I know you got a couple other podcasts coming out as well. So we're going to keep on doing our research on you, man, following along the way. So
awesome.
Ladies and gents, Eisa Emami, you can find him on Instagram and, you know, a couple other social media platforms. If you need to, you know, stock trading advice, you know, send him a DM. He has courses on there as well. Very knowledgeable. So thank you again for being on the show,
Thank you, bro.
I appreciate
it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect.
We're out.